Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. It's strange how a single moment can change everything you thought you knew. You think you understand someone, trust them completely, and then, one day, you find out that trust was just a fragile illusion. My name is Eric, and I never expected to find myself in the middle of a storm like this. It all began when she went to that reunion. We'd been married for 6 years, and in those 6 years, I'd always known Sarah as someone who valued honesty. She was the kind of person who always wore her heart on her sleeve, up until that night. It wasn't even about her going to the reunion that set off the chain of events. She had told me about it weeks in advance, her 10-year college reunion. It seemed like a fun thing for her to do, reconnect with old friends. She seemed excited, and I was happy for her. But that night, something felt off. Maybe it was the way she mentioned it, a little too casually, as if she was already preparing for something she wasn't ready to admit. The night began like any other. I stayed home while she went out, my usual routine of reading and catching up on work emails. At first, it didn't feel strange at all. But then came the text at 11:15 p.m. Hey, I just got in my car, but I forgot something inside. I'll be right back. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Sarah was always forgetful, so this didn't seem out of the ordinary. I told myself it was just her usual way of keeping me updated. But when the minutes stretched into an hour and she still hadn't come back, I started to feel a quiet sense of discomfort. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I sent a text. Nothing. This wasn't like Sarah. We had been married long enough for me to recognize when something wasn't right, even if I couldn't put my finger on it. Another hour passed, and I was starting to think maybe she had just gotten caught up with her friends, maybe even lost track of time. But the feeling in my chest was growing. She wasn't answering my calls. She wasn't responding to my texts. It was unlike her. Then it happened. At around 2:30 a.m., I received a phone call from her. My heart raced as I saw her name on the screen. I immediately answered, hoping everything was okay. But the moment I heard her voice, my stomach dropped. Eric. I don't know how to say this. Her voice cracked slightly, and I could hear the faint sound of what seemed like heavy breathing in the background. I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I need to talk to you when I get home. There was a pause, a hesitation, like she was searching for the right words. But whatever it was, whatever was happening, it didn't sit right with me. The tone in her voice was different, distant, guarded. It was a stark contrast to the warmth I was used to hearing from her. Are you okay? I asked, trying to sound calm, trying not to reveal how anxious I felt. I'm fine, she replied quickly, too quickly. I'll be home in a bit. I need a little space to think. Space? I echoed, my mind racing. Is everything all right? There was a pause on the other end of the line before she said, yeah, I'll explain when I get home. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat there, phone in hand, my thoughts a tangled mess. What was she hiding? Why did she sound so strange? Why was she so quick to avoid the conversation? And most importantly, why did she need space, all of a sudden? I didn't have answers, but the gut feeling told me this wasn't a simple case of losing track of time at a reunion. When she finally came home around 4 a.m., I was already awake. She walked in quietly, almost as if she didn't want to make a sound. But it was the look in her eyes that made my heart skip a beat. Something was off. She was visibly shaken, trying to act normal, but it was clear she wasn't. Hey, I said, my voice trembling slightly. We need to talk. Sarah nodded, but didn't make eye contact. She hung her coat on the hook by the door, moving mechanically, like she was going through the motions of a routine. But this wasn't routine. Not anymore. I'm tired, Eric. It's been a long night, she said, her voice flat, devoid of the usual spark I was used to hearing. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I'm not asking you about the reunion, Sarah. I'm asking you about tonight. You've been acting strange. The phone call, the way you're acting now, it's not like you. She avoided my gaze. I just needed some time to think, that's all. Think about what? I pressed, my patience wearing thin. About us, she whispered, almost too quietly for me to hear. About what's next for me, for us. The tension between us was unbearable, and I could feel a knot in my stomach tightening by the second. But before I could respond, she abruptly turned and walked to the kitchen. I followed her, heart pounding, but I wasn't ready for what came next. She stopped by the counter, her hand frozen as she reached into her purse. She wasn't looking at me, but her fingers were trembling slightly as she rummaged through it. That's when I saw it. A small folded piece of paper slipped out of her purse and onto the counter. She froze. I didn't move, but I could feel my heartbeat hammering in my chest. For a brief moment, she didn't even acknowledge the paper. Then, with a shaky breath, she slowly picked it up, unfolding it with great care. Her eyes widened as she read what was written inside. But that wasn't what shook me. In her other hand, tucked under the crumpled note, was my wedding ring. The ring I hadn't seen in days. And then, just like that, everything I had ever known about her seemed to collapse in on itself. She looked up at me, panic written across her face. "Where did you find that?" she asked, her voice suddenly trembling. The paper in her hand was no longer just paper. It was the beginning of an unraveling I could never have prepared for. I didn't know what to say. There she was, standing in front of me, holding my ring like it was some sort of incriminating evidence, and I had no idea how to react. My mind was racing. What was going on? Why did she have my ring? Why was she hiding it from me? "Sarah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What is this? What's going on?" She hesitated, her eyes darting between the paper in her hand and my face, as if trying to figure out how much to tell me. The room felt suffocating, every second stretching into an eternity. I don't know what you think this means," she started, her voice trembling. "It's not what you think." I didn't buy it. The way she was acting, the nervousness, the confusion, it all pointed to something much deeper than just a misunderstanding. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, suffocating the air around us. "Then what is it, Sarah? Because this doesn't make any sense." She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She was struggling, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something in her eyes that I couldn't ignore: fear. Fear of being caught, fear of losing control. It was the fear of a lie unraveling. Finally, she sighed and dropped her shoulders in defeat. "Okay, you deserve to know the truth." I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to explain. I took a step closer, my heart pounding. "Explain what, Sarah?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I've been seeing someone else." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. "What?" The word came out like a gasp, more of a breath than a question. I couldn't believe it. My mind couldn't process what she was saying. Sarah, my wife, had been seeing someone else. It didn't make sense. She started to cry, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I didn't plan for any of it. It just happened." I stood there, frozen. I couldn't move, couldn't think. I'd spent the last 6 years with her, building a life, trusting her, and now everything felt like a lie. Who is it?" I finally managed to ask, though I wasn't sure I even wanted to know. Her eyes flickered to the paper she was still holding, and for a moment, I thought she might say his name. But instead, she just shook her head. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that I messed up. I've been hiding this from you for so long, and I hate myself for it." I felt a wave of nausea rise in my stomach. She'd been hiding this from me for weeks, maybe longer. I couldn't even imagine what she'd been doing behind my back, what lies she had told. My hands were trembling as I reached for the paper in her hand. When I unfolded it, I saw the familiar handwriting. It was his handwriting, Greg's. The name sent a chill through me. I knew that name. She'd talked about him before, the one she said she could never forget, the one she always brushed off as nothing important. But it wasn't nothing. This was more than just a fling. This was something real. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, her voice cracking. "But I've been so confused. He's been there for me in ways you haven't, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to stop." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You've been seeing him behind my back, and you didn't think I'd find out?" She didn't answer. Instead, she collapsed into a chair, burying her face in her hands. "I'm sorry. I never meant for it to get this far. I don't know how to fix this." I felt like I was suffocating. My chest tightened, and I could barely breathe. Everything about our life, everything I thought I knew about Sarah, was crumbling in front of me. She wasn't the person I thought she was. The woman I had married was a stranger now. I looked at the ring she had hidden, the symbol of our vows, the thing that had bound us together for so long. And now, it felt like a mockery. I didn't know what to do, how to process this betrayal. For a long moment, there was only silence between us. The weight of her confession hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating the space. I wanted to scream, to yell, to make her feel the pain I was feeling. But I didn't. I just stood there, staring at the ring in her hand. Then, she finally spoke again, her voice quieter now. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. I wanted to say something, but my words caught in my throat. I didn't know what I was supposed to say. How do you fix something like this? How do you fix a broken trust that's been shattered into 1,000 pieces? I looked at her one last time. You should go, I said, my voice cold, distant. I need some time to think. She nodded, tears still streaming down her face, and without another word, she left. The door closed softly behind her, and I was left standing there, alone, with nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. Everything had changed, and I wasn't sure if I could ever go back to the way things were. The silence in the house was deafening after Sarah left. I stood there, staring at the door, feeling like I had just stepped out of a dream. A nightmare, really. Her words were still echoing in my mind, like a cold, cruel chant. I've been seeing someone else. I've been hiding it from you for so long. It felt unreal. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I kept replaying everything in my mind, trying to make sense of it. How had I not seen the signs? How had I missed the subtle shifts, the little changes? She was my wife. I trusted her with everything. And yet, she had betrayed that trust. The ring, the paper. It was all there, hidden in her purse, like some twisted reminder that everything I knew was a lie. I sat down on the couch, my hands shaking as I stared at the paper she'd left behind. The note was short, just a few lines of scrawled handwriting, but it spoke volumes. It was clear, unmistakable. The note wasn't just a letter, it was a message. A message from him. From Greg. I can't wait to see you again. I miss you so much. The words burned in my chest. It wasn't just a fling. This wasn't some passing affair. She had been seeing him for weeks, maybe months. And now, she was telling me everything had gotten too far? That was all she had to say for herself? She was sorry? I gripped the paper tighter, my knuckles turning white. The anger, the betrayal, it was like a fire in my chest, spreading faster and faster. How could she have done this? How could she have stood in front of me for all these years, looking me in the eye, and lied to me like this? I thought about calling her, demanding answers. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't change anything. It wasn't about what she said anymore. It was about what had already happened. The trust between us had been broken. There was no going back from this. I stood up abruptly, walking to the kitchen to get some water. I needed to clear my head, but nothing seemed to help. I kept thinking about the reunion, about how excited she had been to go, how she had talked about reconnecting with old friends. I should have noticed something then. I should have known. I couldn't stop myself from thinking about Greg. Who was he? What did he have that I didn't? Why him? Why not me? I spent hours just sitting there, thinking. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus. The anger in me was still simmering, but something else started to creep in, doubt. Had she ever really loved me? Was everything just a facade? Was I just a placeholder for someone else? I thought about the first time we met, about all the good times we'd had together. Had it all been a lie? How could she have hidden this from me for so long? Eventually, I knew what I had to do. I had to see him. Greg. I wasn't sure how, or even where to start, but I needed answers. I needed to understand how this happened, how my life had been flipped upside down in the span of a few hours. I couldn't live with the questions swirling in my mind. I had to confront the truth. I grabbed my coat and left the house. As I walked down the street, I felt a strange sense of purpose. This wasn't just about Sarah anymore. It was about finding the answers. About finally getting the closure I needed. I didn't know what I was going to find, but I knew I couldn't stop until I did. I didn't know where to find Greg. I didn't even know where to start looking. But I couldn't sit around any longer, drowning in questions. The more I thought about it, the more my mind raced. What did Sarah see in him? What kind of person was he? Was I just a fool this whole time? The first place I thought to check was the bar where Sarah and her friends had been hanging out that night. It was a popular spot for college reunions, filled with old memories and too much nostalgia. As soon as I walked in, the loud chatter of the crowd hit me, making my pulse quicken. I scanned the room, trying to spot Sarah, trying to spot him, Greg. But there was no sign of either of them. I was about to turn around and leave when I spotted her, Sarah. She was sitting in a corner booth, her back to me, talking to a man I didn't recognize. My stomach twisted when I saw the way she was leaning toward him, the laughter in her voice too familiar, too intimate. Something about that moment felt like a punch to the gut. I froze for a second, watching them, trying to make sense of what was happening. Sarah's hand was resting on the table near his, and they were sharing a joke, clearly more than just friendly. She didn't even notice me standing there. I had half a mind to walk up and confront her right there, to tear the veil of secrecy she had wrapped herself in. But something held me back. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. I left the bar, but my mind wouldn't stop spinning. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had just seen. She wasn't just talking to him. She was with him. My blood boiled. I had to know everything. I spent the next few days trying to figure out where Greg might be. I asked around, talked to a few people who might know him, but nobody seemed to have any solid answers. It felt like everyone was either too busy or too scared to help. The more I dug, the more I realized just how deep this was. This wasn't a brief affair. It was something that had been going on for far too long. Then, one evening, I got a call. It was an unknown number, but something told me it was him. Eric Wright. The voice on the other end was calm, almost too calm. This is Greg. I felt a surge of anger and confusion. I wasn't sure if I should feel relieved or furious, but I knew I had to play this carefully. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. I think we need to talk. You deserve some answers. My heart skipped a beat. I'm listening. There was a pause on the other end, a deep breath, and then he spoke again, his tone shifting slightly. I never wanted to hurt you, man. But the thing is, Sarah and I, it just happened. We never meant for it to go this far. I gripped the phone tighter, trying to keep my emotions in check. How long, Greg? How long has this been going on? Longer than you think, he admitted, his voice laced with guilt. But I swear, it wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional. I wanted to scream, to yell at him, but I couldn't find the words. My thoughts were a mess, but I was determined to get to the bottom of this. Where are you? I need to see you. You want to meet? He asked, sounding almost surprised. All right, but understand, I didn't want any of this. You can't just blame me for everything. Sarah made her choices, too. I felt a strange, unsettling calm wash over me. I don't care about your excuses. I need to see you. We arranged to meet at a cafe near the outskirts of town, a place that felt neutral, like a battlefield waiting to happen. As soon as I hung up the phone, I felt that familiar tightness in my chest again. I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I had to face this. The cafe was empty when I arrived, save for a few people here and there. I spotted Greg immediately. He was sitting at a corner table, looking almost too relaxed for someone who had been involved in such a mess. I hesitated for a moment, then walked toward him. He looked up when I approached, his face unreadable. There was no apology in his eyes, no sign of regret. Just a man who knew exactly what he had done. You must be Eric, he said, standing up. He wasn't tall, but there was something about him, an easy confidence, a self-assurance that made my blood boil. Yeah, I said, my voice tight with tension. Let's get this over with. He nodded, sitting back down without waiting for me to take a seat. I'm not here to fight, man. I just think you should know the truth. Sarah, she's been struggling with this for a while. She's not the same person she was when you first met. I sat down across from him, feeling my pulse quicken. What are you saying? He leaned in slightly, his voice lowering. She was never really happy with you, Eric. She's been in love with me for years. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't want to hurt her, but I couldn't walk away either. And she couldn't. She couldn't let go of me, not really. I stared at him, unable to speak. His words hit me like a freight train, every one of them landing with painful accuracy. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about something deeper, something I couldn't even begin to understand. My wife, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying to me for years. I felt sick to my stomach. Greg's words hung in the air like a heavy fog. She was never really happy with you. The weight of those words crashed into me, and for a moment, I felt paralyzed. How had I missed this? How had I been so blind? He leaned back in his chair, his eyes studying me, like he was waiting for a reaction. I wanted to shout, to throw something, to demand answers. But I just sat there, staring at him. The anger in me was starting to boil over, but there was something else too, something colder. A growing sense of disbelief. She's been in love with you for years, huh? I finally said, my voice thick with emotion. But she didn't have the decency to tell me? To be honest with me? Greg shifted in his seat, his fingers tapping lightly on his coffee cup. It's not like that. I didn't want to hurt her either. But the truth is, she couldn't walk away. She couldn't let go of me. And when you're in love with someone like that, it changes things. You stop seeing the person you're supposed to be with the same way. I felt sick. His words weren't just painful, they were like a slap to the face. I had spent years with Sarah, years of my life thinking we were building something real, something solid. And now, here was Greg, sitting in front of me, acting like he held all the pieces to the puzzle I'd been trying to solve for weeks. I never wanted this to happen, Greg said, as if trying to justify it. But you deserve to know. You deserve to hear it from me before she tells you anything. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. And what now? You think telling me this changes anything? It's too late for that. Greg looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something other than confidence in his eyes. There was a flicker of guilt. I don't know what to tell you, man. I didn't want to get involved in this. But Sarah, she kept pulling me back. She never really stopped wanting me. The air between us grew thicker. My mind was racing. I wanted to scream, to hit something, but all I could do was sit there, staring at the man who had destroyed everything I thought I knew. You should talk to her, Greg said, as though he was offering some kind of solution. It's over now. I think you both need to face it. She can't keep running from this. I was beyond hearing his words. The thought of Sarah running back to him, of her hiding everything for so long, made my blood boil. But still, there was something else, something colder creeping into my mind. The realization that, somehow, I had been living in the shadow of this betrayal without knowing. I need to see her, I said, standing up abruptly. My hands were shaking, and my stomach twisted into knots. I couldn't wait any longer. This needed to end, and it needed to end now. Greg stood up too, a look of quiet understanding in his eyes. I'm not going to stop you, but I think you should be prepared for the truth. You've got a right to know, but it's going to hurt. I didn't care. Nothing mattered except getting answers, getting some kind of closure. I walked out of the cafe without saying another word. My mind was a blur, my thoughts tangled in a mess of anger, confusion, and hurt. I had to find Sarah. I had to face her. The drive back home was a blur. My mind was racing with questions, each one more painful than the last. Sarah's face, the way she had looked at me when she confessed, still haunted me. I've been seeing someone else. Her words echoed in my ears, over and over. I couldn't escape them, no matter how hard I tried. I had to see her. I had to confront her. I needed answers. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the sun had started to set, casting a dim glow over the house. I knew Sarah would be home soon. The thought of facing her made my stomach churn. What would I say? What would she say? Could we even go back after this? I waited inside, pacing the living room like a caged animal. My mind wouldn't stop spinning. I was stuck between rage and disbelief. The woman I had loved, the woman I thought I knew, had betrayed me. The thought of her with Greg, it felt like someone had ripped my heart out. I knew this moment was coming, but it didn't make it any easier. Then, I heard the door open. Sarah was home. I stood up immediately, my pulse racing. She came in quietly, her eyes meeting mine for only a split second before she looked away. The tension in the room was suffocating. Eric, she started, her voice shaking slightly. I know this is hard, but I need you to understand. Understand. I interrupted, my voice louder than I intended. I understand, Sarah. I understand that you've been lying to me for months. I understand that you've been seeing Greg behind my back, hiding it from me like I'm some fool. She winced, her face flushing with embarrassment. Please, just let me explain. I don't want an explanation. I snapped, unable to hold it in anymore. You've been seeing him, Sarah. You've been with him, and I didn't even know. You didn't think I deserved the truth? All this time, I thought we were building something together. But I was just the guy you were with while you waited for him. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't speak for a moment. The silence stretched between us, thick with hurt and betrayal. Eric, I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know how to tell you the truth. I didn't want to lose you. I still don't. I felt a wave of anger wash over me. Lose me? Sarah, you've already lost me. Do you even realize what you've done? I trusted you. I gave you everything, and you've been with him the whole time. Her lips trembled. It wasn't like that. It wasn't about you. It was about me. I got lost, Eric. I didn't know who I was anymore. I couldn't stop thinking about him. And I was so scared that I'd ruin everything with you if I told you. I didn't want to lose you, and I didn't know what to do. I shook my head in disbelief. You think this is about me? You think I care about how you feel right now? You've destroyed everything. Everything we built, every moment we shared. It's all a lie. How do you expect me to ever trust you again? She stepped closer, her voice barely a whisper. I love you, Eric. I do. But I was confused. I didn't know how to deal with it. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, don't walk away from me. I took a step back, the words she said piercing me like 1,000 needles. I could feel my heart breaking, but at the same time, something inside me snapped. Love? Is that what this is, Sarah? Is this what love is? Lying, hiding things, sneaking around behind my back? She reached for me, but I stepped away. Don't touch me, I said, my voice cold. I don't know who you are anymore. Her eyes filled with tears, and she lowered her hand. Please, Eric, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can. I could feel the weight of her words, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive her. Not yet. I don't know if I can fix this, Sarah. You've already crossed a line, and I'm not sure I can come back from it. She looked at me, her face pale, her shoulders slumped in defeat. I'm sorry. I never wanted this. I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know how to fix myself, and now I've broken us. I turned away, unable to look at her anymore. The pain was unbearable, but I knew deep down that I couldn't go on like this. The trust was gone. The love I thought we had was broken. There was nothing left for me here. I need to go, I said quietly, walking toward the door. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't say anything. She just stood there, watching me leave, as if she knew there was nothing she could say to undo what had already been done. And just like that, everything changed. I left the house without looking back. The cool night air hit me as I stepped outside, but I barely felt it. My mind was numb, still processing everything Sarah had said, everything I had just learned. It felt like my world had been turned upside down. How did it all happen? How did I get here? The streetlights blurred as I walked aimlessly, my thoughts a jumbled mess. I needed space. I needed clarity. Everything felt suffocating. My heart ached with the betrayal, but at the same time, I felt this strange, hollow emptiness. The life I thought I had, the love I thought was real, was it all a lie? I stopped at a park nearby, the quiet streets offering no comfort. I sat on a bench, staring at the dark sky above, my breath coming in sharp bursts. I couldn't stop replaying her words in my head. I never wanted to hurt you. I was confused. But that wasn't enough. She'd had an affair, hidden it from me, and now she wanted forgiveness? How could I even consider it? I thought back to the moment Greg had called me, his calm voice telling me things I didn't want to hear. He had tried to justify it, but in the end, it was clear he didn't care. Sarah had been the one who sought him out, who kept going back. I was just the one who was left in the dark, kept in the background while she lived this secret life. Minutes stretched into hours as I sat there, trying to make sense of the whirlwind that had torn through my life. I knew I couldn't stay in the same house as Sarah. Not right now. It was too raw, too painful. I stood up, pulling my phone from my pocket. I didn't know what I expected to find, but I called a friend, someone I hadn't talked to in years. Dave. He'd always been the one who had a clear head when things were messy. Hey, Eric. It's been a while. His voice was warm, but there was an edge of concern. I must have sounded off. I need a place to stay, man, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Yeah, of course. What's going on? I told him everything. The betrayal, the lies, the gut-wrenching conversation with Sarah. The more I spoke, the more I realized how much I needed to get out. I couldn't stay in that house any longer. I'll be there in an hour, Dave said, his voice firm. I hung up and walked away from the park, not knowing what the future would look like. I didn't know if Sarah and I could ever fix this. Maybe we could. Maybe we couldn't. But right now, I had to focus on taking care of myself. The next few days were a blur. I stayed at Dave's place, away from the house, away from Sarah. The silence in my mind was strange at first, but it gave me space to think, to breathe, to heal. I didn't want to focus on the anger anymore, didn't want to dwell on the betrayal. I had spent so much time feeling hurt, lost in the past. It was time to look forward. But I knew I couldn't just walk away without facing what had happened. I had to make a decision, not just about Sarah, but about my own future. After a few days, I decided it was time to go back to the house. It felt strange, walking back in. It wasn't the same place anymore. The memories of us, the laughter, the quiet moments, they were all tainted now. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, taking in the familiar surroundings, before walking inside. Sarah was there, sitting in the living room, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She didn't look up when I entered. but I could feel her eyes following me as I made my way to the kitchen. I had no idea what to say to her, no idea how to explain what I was feeling. "Eric," she whispered, standing up slowly. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't respond. I just walked past her, opening the drawer where I kept my things. There, under the pile of old papers, was my wedding ring, the ring she had hidden from me. I picked it up, holding it in my hands for a long moment before looking at her. "You didn't mean for it to happen?" I repeated, my voice quiet. "You didn't mean to betray me, to lie to me, to keep this secret for so long?" She took a shaky step forward. "I was confused, Eric. I wasn't happy, and I didn't know how to fix it." I took a deep breath, staring at the ring in my hand. "The truth is, Sarah, you didn't care enough to fix it. You chose him. And now, I have to choose myself." Her face crumpled, as if the weight of my words hit her all at once. "Please, Eric. I love you. I'll do anything to make it right." But it was too late. I wasn't angry anymore, but the love I had once felt for her had faded. I had spent so long trying to hold on to something that wasn't real, something she wasn't willing to fight for. "I can't do this," I said, my voice firm. "I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me, who doesn't respect our vows. I need to move on." She didn't say anything. She just stood there, silent, her face a mixture of guilt and regret. I left the house that night. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. I wasn't running away from the pain. I was finally choosing my own path. Weeks passed, and slowly, I started rebuilding my life. I focused on work, on friends, on things that made me feel whole again. The first few nights were the hardest. The emptiness of the house, the absence of her, was suffocating. But with time, it became easier. I found a new place, a new beginning. Then, one day, I got a call from a mutual friend. It wasn't the call I was expecting. "Hey, Eric," my friend said, voice laced with hesitation. "You won't believe what's been going on with Sarah. She's been with Greg for a while now, but guess what? He just broke it off with her." My stomach churned, but I couldn't help the small smile that tugged at my lips. "What happened?" "She found out he'd been seeing someone else while they were together," my friend continued. "I guess karma's a hell of a thing." A sense of satisfaction washed over me. I hadn't wished for anything bad to happen to Sarah, but this felt like justice. I knew she was going to be hurt, but maybe this was the wake-up call she needed. As for me, I had learned to move on. I had learned that I didn't need to hold on to someone who wasn't worthy of my trust or my love. And as the days went on, I realized I was better off without her. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finally free. I looked back at my life, at everything that had happened, and I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. The best part? I was starting to trust myself again. And that was all that mattered. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all.